In nearly 30-something years of raising chickens, I have never gone without eggs, not even just one. And since before Halloween, I have not gotten a single egg until about a week ago. And I switched the feed that I was giving. I no longer am feeding chicken feed. I have switched my girls to goat feed. Steel cut oats, black sunflower seeds, and goat feed. I have to say, there's something to this. If I have to put my little tinfoil hat on, it's kind of weird.
Hey people, I've been studying this tomb of King Tut for a couple weeks, and I'm fixing to tell you some stuff that archaeologists don't know. You know, Tutankhamun was young. They say he died around 19. And they'll say that he suffered from a deformed left foot and bone necrosis. Also had scoliosis. It doesn't show in this picture good, but you can see, you know, they didn't draw the deformed leg, but you see his cane, the way he's holding it. That's a crutch. You can see here in this picture, you know, it's under his arm. That's his crutch. Some people claim that his man, Aya, hit him in the head and killed him to take the throne. But when they check his bones and his clothes, they find out he had a narrow waist and rounded hips and big old titties. He was diseased with most everything. It's a wonder he lived that long. And they suggest that he also had epilepsy. And they say there's no surviving records of his death. They say it might have been sickle cell anemia. But it's pretty plain to see that he had polio. And it's many people had it, and it's where they get this Greek word many. And this is a P-O-L, double L is a I, polio. Many have arisen, the polio jig on is in. But this is Aya, and this is said to be his advisor. And this one they say possibly killed him to take the throne after. And you notice he's got the very similar artwork in his cave. And he's got this same space empty here. And so Aya come just after Tutankhamun for a short time. And it was during a time of great tension between the new monotheism and the old polytheism. And some suggest that Aya murdered Tut in order to usurp the throne. But it was Tutankhamun and his grand visor Aya that brought back the old gods. And there was a gold foil fragment from a tomb that indicates that Aya was possibly referred to as the priest of Mat. And that brings us back here to the priest of Mat. So I'm going to show y'all something really cool. You know, if you're a busy business person, you have a lot of meetings, a lot of people. You have a notebook that you keep up all your appointments in, a daily planner. You can write this on the front of there, and that's the ancient one world language, and that's what it means. That's your daily planner. That's what's going on here. And it says, you know, Mat, and this is the ancient Nordic pirate's word meaning from at, M-A-T, from at. And from at, inviting what? And the Egyptologists, they just read this as a NBT or a NVT, invite, but they're not reading this here. And this is the Hebrew word for the daughter is the but, you know, NBT, and it doubles up, NBT, NBT. And from at, inviting what? And so you didn't have to write it like this. You could just write with the tit hanging out the top of the dress. You know, that's what Grandma says. Girl, you inviting what? So if you're going to write about your invites, you know, that's how you would have wrote it. It was inviting. It was wanted. From at, inviting what? Hours, Horus, hours, commit, K-M-A-T. The committing is N-H-S. And so this is also, you know, your Greek word for tomorrow, commit. You know, commit Ra is to next sunrise. Commit, you know, and the hours is now. And this is your Nordic word for the day after tomorrow is Ness. And so this all come from the one world ancient language. And so I pretty much got this figured out here. This tells you, what hours to commit has. And so it's for the priest, which gods you got to pray to. And what is the calendar? It's given the name of a day, and it tells them from history what happened before on that day, so they know what's coming. Come at, KMT, KMAT, come at. The coming is. And so it's going to tell them, what gods to pray to. By the time you put the day together, you add the week name, the day name, the month name, and the hemisphere name to get it all together. But, this one, they say that this is on the north wall or the west wall, and they have a notch cut off in all four walls, marking the north, south, east, and west. And they had these little magic bricks in here. But, it definitely looks like, this was cut in haste later. And so this is definitely, the religion, the old religion being brought back with the many gods. And so this is the god of Guessoo. It's the only clue here. You see an eye, the on, A-N. The eyes are on and airy. I'm not sure until I see them together in a word. But yeah, this is on Guessoo. Everybody else gets a name, and this is just Guessoo. And this is Thoth Day, Guessoo. And it's up here, Guessoo. And this tells you, that this is the new writing. The old writing is red. And so they'll try to force a M on this and say this is Mat twice. It's not. This is Zimmerat. And they'll tell you, this is a Mur, M-R, meaning to raise higher. And all around the worldwide language, this is a Z. It's a tool to cut. And it's a Zimmerat. And it means to simmer, to thought. And so that's Guessoo, is thought. And so this is the ancient writings of Thoth's Zimmerat that taught in common was bringing back to get them back in line with their gods due to the precession of equinox and when the sun was falling. And plus to get the measurements, because the gods' names were all created in the stars. And I figured that out when reading the Hebrew. There was a loop around, and all the stars had a name and a number, and that's where all the gods' names come from. So they'll say this word Mat in Egypt means truth, and this is a big old clue. This says holiday, and that's from at, and that's what the calendar was all about, to get your holidays at the right time. D-Y, holiday. And so that's where your word Guess Who's comes from. Tisest in of pursues this, they much of are nominous, with no name. They are nominous of it, guess who's, of casting, of cries to's. The one to cry to. The casting of cries to sought as. Is it in of antics rise to? So are nominous it on fate, rave it on who on? Face of are nominous it on Vion, who would it on fate, Riche? And so the face of are nominous it on Vion, to go on in the blood, to the sun. And so that's why there's no name on there. It's the nominous it on Vion, who would it on fate, R. The AE becomes the ES, the Riche, means to wove, what it on fate, woven. And that would be a Nordic word, an English word for weave, Riche, of a homologian, of the same type, to homogenize, to make all alike, to like the logo, to like logos, to like letters. He's writing, the like language, the homologon, it on, go on, vion, to go on, what on fate riche, what on fate weaves. So this is definitely talking about King Tut, and it plain out says it right here. And by this we know because taught again as common. Just take this again as out of that's taught to common, taught in common. And this is the genius, and it's also again. It was bringing back Toph's work. And when taught again as common. And so what's coming in the future, you get it on your calendar. Of it, igno coming. Igno of the knowledge coming. The common naughtin. The common not the skies. The common naughtin. Aten, that's the god that was before, the one god, the Aten. And the common Aten haunt as in toll as of two. And wither 'em in. And the old calendar was withering. Things weren't happening on date. And of legend of it Enochian. Enoch what on? Enoch, the 364-day calendar. The Enochian what on? What as in toll as sought of much thereon pursues this is it in when taught to he the holiday okayest in. This is okay. This is the opposite of not when it is good, when it's okayest in. And you remember that first movie here, that was the first line in here, is tell not from autograph, tell not from out, O-U-T, tell nigh from out the autograph. Don't tell them the name. Whom in a name are that, and hauntism art, paracletin the comin, overcall it on the comin, tootin comin, and comin forced on the fate rage soon, and Kristen Devon. And so Kristen Devon is your bow, and I believe his bow was a sextant. And you see all through here, the sins of us, is common, the common of. And he was teaching the common, and that was the sin. They didn't want us to know there was only one God. But the common of period on the committer on demon on Allah appear allowed to. The demon on Allah of God appear allowed to. And so Allah means all the gods, and all appear allowed to a cause move, the cosmo, what causes the move. And you see here, this word, the taught to, this is God, this is Thoth, and they'll just give it things, and it didn't fit here, and they'll give it him, and in him, and in taught to. He, holiday, O Kestin. Whoever, however may keep. This is as D is through. And through on the sky gods, on above. And through on there of to what on the logo on, the word on, coming from the sky. Of all those in, many gods, all those in, taught to he, and ape to. The out a tele-itage. The out a tele, this is where your word telescope come from, a distance, and the out a tele-at-age. Age is what you acquired from it. And that was the ancient thought. He had this giant telescope. That is. It's the same symbol for a telescope today, you see an eyeball in a circle. And then the camera zoom out and you see it's a pirate looking through his telescope. Of God has been perfected the outer tele jottage. A jot, which you write down, an iota is the letter I, and that's where your word jot, a little bitty writing, jottage, the little dot on top of the iota is a jot. And taught to he an apt, A-P-H-T, an apt of. And so this is the word ape in it, and it's more of a man than the word man. But this is, unapt, one that's adequate, one that can understand it. And the love comes from the word in ape, because all the writers, that was their god, was the ape, Bobby. And taught to Heon apt of the outer telejottage, the words you're getting from the heavens, the yammer. And taught to genius coming, Tutankhamun, and taught again is coming. And Audi in ought to is men, and in taught again is coming, Audi at of it in of to his men. So he taught his men, but he didn't write it on the wall. And so Aya had this knowledge, that was the priest of the temple of Mat, so he taught his men, and taught again is coming of it in ought to his men. And then it goes on to explain what's written, in a legend in ought to me vein of file they according to as, from way in a file according to as. And then it was down at 7, where it was an ape to you sent all in, beloved, not a commandment. The beloved ape of the scribes, that in an ape to you sent all in, went in graph, to write it all in the graph. And so I think I got most of all this read. I missed a couple lines over here, I think at the end of the Antichrist, and I'll put it in the next movie, and I'll read this entire Antichrist here. And I believe I got this whole thing mixed up in the past 5 or 6 movies. But the truth is, of these graphs I'm in, of it, of co-a-date, to coordinate, of to get together, to co-a-date it in, holiday on, is the whole idea, to get the holidays right. They still do it today. They try to make sure the holidays work out with the moon. The moon, god of thought. Alright, I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.